What's going on, everybody? FYB presents Wise Word Wednesdays, a quick stream to help you get closer to accomplishing your dreams. Listen, I have a very special guest with me here. Um, I'm super excited to have him. I don't want to get that light in the background there, messing up people's vision. Hold on, let me move this microphone real quick. Or this light. There we go. Get that out. Sorry. Again, I'm still learning. Right? Having some technical difficulties. But I have a very special guest with me here today. Somebody that I've known for quite some time. We kind of hit it off almost immediately, and just somebody that I really admire, who's doing a lot of great work in the community, and really with this the whole point of this podcast, the whole point of this is really to give people an insight, right? Wise Word Wednesday started off by us trying to myself and the FYB team trying to give people an opportunity to learn something from things that we learn from, so that way they don't make the same mistakes we did. In life, there's no guaranteed manual to success. There's no guaranteed one way. There's a variety of different ways. And so our purpose was just like, if we can give someone just a little bit of information that can help make their journey just a little bit easier, then, it's perfect. And we also say, I learned this from Pastor Childs a long time ago. He says, eat the fish and spit out the bones. So there may be some Wise Word Wednesdays that may not be for you, and that's completely fine. You don't have to deal with that. You can push that Wise Word Wednesday to the side. But if it is, then take it and use that for your journey. And so today I have a special guest. Oh, let me first ask that you please like, comment, and subscribe to the Wise Word Wednesday YouTube channel. Right now, we are going live on Facebook, on YouTube, and on Twitter. But I'm just asking if you can to like, comment, and subscribe on the Wise Word Wednesday YouTube channel. We really appreciate it. I try to do the best I can to give you information in that sense, and also just to show that you support us. It helps YouTube give us more views and things like that. So without any further ado, I'm going to introduce to some and present to others. This man is an entrepreneur. He is a co-founder of Project Optimism. He also is the founder of Easley Done Co, right? Easley Done Company. And this man has done a wide variety of different things as far as career-wise, but the things that we're going to focus on are going to be some of the things that I just talked about here. And I am talking about none other than Armoni Easley.
Let's go.
Yes. Let's go. Welcome, brother. I appreciate you. Appreciate you joining the podcast. So we're excited, man. We're going to, just have a conversation. So first and foremost, you identify yourself specifically as the social impact entrepreneur and empowering facilitator and speaker. So why did you come up with that specific title as to who you are, how you choose to identify as a professional?
So you're going to have to ask that question again.
Okay.
Because I just want to give you your flowers right now.
Ooh.
This setup right now, I'm telling y'all not here, but I'm going to let y'all in on the secret. This is like legit.
That's love.
Top notch.
Love.
This your consistency, your love, the game, the wisdom, the legacy work that you've been doing. Like, it was an honor when I got that phone call, got that message, bro. So yeah. Before we get into this, I need you to know who you are and to know that I'm really, really grateful to be a part of this journey with you. I know you know how we are.
Yeah.
YouTube. I am, because we are.
Absolutely.
And you are a true testament to that. So before we got started, I need to let you know how much I appreciate you.
No
and how important your walk is to my walk and how we've been walking.
That's crazy. And this is like literally like one of my best friends, man. We talk every day pretty much in one way, shape, or form. Me, you, KB, we're like this. We talk all the time about a variety of different things. And so I think it's a blessing. And again, the empowering part right there, I think it's a lot of work. And so I appreciate you acknowledging, the setup that I have. Because a lot of people think, oh yeah, you just go sit down. It's like
nice wire.
Yeah.
Check,
So we here, man. I appreciate you, brother. Yes. RIP Nip for sure. And back to the original question. So, you identify yourself as a social impact entrepreneur and a empowering facilitator and speaker. What gave you that And if you could just move the mic just a little bit closer to you, just to make sure. I just want to make sure, because the audio's coming in fine for me, but I don't know during podcast time when it, that's good. Yeah, way better. Yeah, way better. Quality. Yeah, no doubt. So what made you come with that as a way to self-identify, as opposed to just a motivational speaker, as opposed to just an entrepreneur? Like, you're talking about social impact. So explain to me why you came up with that.
You already kind of cooking it, so I'm gonna say, because there's two parts to it. So social impact entrepreneur. For me, I always have a social redeemable cause to everything that I do. And it just seemed like it came natural. And then once it came natural, I realized I was doing something, so it became intentional. And so, yes, I merged my passion and things that I was great at, things that I was good at, things that I was doing already, which was entrepreneurship, and I merged those lanes together. And so social impact entrepreneur was important for me to name, because I always want to think about a social redeemable cause behind everything that I do, right? Wow. And then the other part, I don't want to call myself a motivational speaker. This dude cold with it. That's the to get down, you know? And I know I have motivation within the way I facilitate, the way I operate. Yeah. But I like to facilitate greatness, as in, like, I like to light up a room. I like to ask questions. I like to do prompts. You already know I'm talking about the good life work. I know that I just want you to have the most important conversation you could ever have with yourself, individually or collectively. And I know that's a gift that I've been blessed with. And so it's not just speaking, it's giving a space for people to see themselves.
So then what got you interested in that in the first place?
I've always done it. I'm big on community, right? And so one of the biggest things that I understand about myself is I'm very communal. I want to connect with people. I want to bring people together. And before Project Optimism being one of the hats, before Project Optimism, we had a thing called Positive Images. And even before Positive Images, my brothers from high school, GTs, get their boys,
talk heavy.
We would bring people together. You know, if it was parties, if it was just gatherings, if we just playing pool, we playing sports. Just something about that camaraderie from sports to just bringing people together always gave me life, you know? And what I understand about myself and what I understand about others is, in some spaces, people go into group settings and they're like, dang, like after that, I'm kind of drained, you know? And I'm kind of like the opposite, where it's like when I get around the people, that actually charges me up. So that's something that, like, it's actually a selfish thing when I think about it, because I benefit so much from spaces like that it was important for me to create, you know? And so that's where I would say start.
So going from that, how did you get from enjoying those spaces, right? Going from those spaces and to the point where you're able to now become an author? Because that's a huge jump, right? Like, it's one thing to speak in front of people. It's one thing to uplift people. It's one thing to empower them and to get them to be the better versions of themselves. It's another thing to put those thoughts into written form and then have people actually consume it. So
I want to make sure you asking your questions are on point. I gotta jump in and say, like, this wasn't a part of the assignment. It wasn't. It's one of those things that you said. I'm telling you, we do be around each other a lot, because I quote you a lot when you say that your goals is connected to other people's goals. I never heard that. But as I keep elevating, I always think about it as a video game. As you keep going through the video game, it opens up. The map opens up more and more. And so this wasn't on the QR code. This wasn't on the cards, if you will. But I knew I had to do it. Like, I knew I had to do it. I woke up at 3 a.m. Wife will tell you, I tossing and turning. And it was one of those moments where God was like, it's time. And so I want to let you know that this was just an enhancement to what I was already doing. Because I'm motivating spaces. I'm giving them content. I'm giving them perspective, but I wasn't leaving them with anything. And so this is my opportunity to leave them with something after I got done motivating them, you know? And so I know when I go into speaking to spaces, this book gets 10 times better because they got the life work experience, and now they have something to keep going with it. And so that was my original. It was a God planted thing, and then it was me enhancing what I was already doing as a speaker / empowerment facilitator.
What was, and again, none of these questions so far that I've asked you, except for one, was one of the pre-questions I sent you, so my bad. But I did, at least I gave you where I was like, we could stick to it, we might not. You know what I'm saying? What was that process like? I mean, I wrote a thesis, and that was, it's 126 pages. Yeah. So if you want to check it out, you're good. But it was tough. Like it took me years to write that because of all the different things that it requires. And so what was that process like for you starting to write your own book? And again, because that wasn't even a part of the original, well, it's a part of your journey, but it wasn't a part of what you were kind of thinking that you were destined to do. So what was that process like?
So the process was at 3 a.m. Like I couldn't go to sleep. I need you to know that like all of this was in me already. So it felt like a bomb, like a download that like I couldn't help myself. Like I would literally throw out, because this is reflective. This is not necessarily like a thesis. Shout out to you and your thesis. Like maybe I have a real full chapter book that I know I do, but this one's more reflective in a way where I've been doing icebreakers, team builders, reflective questions. I've been doing it for so long, there was time for me to put it somewhere. And so when I was writing out concept, when I was just tossing and turning in my phone, before that night was over, actually, when the night was over, I woke up, I didn't even get to go to sleep that night. I probably had 70 concepts that's just been in my head that I've been rocking with for a very long time. Just that alone, right? And so really what it came down to was all those things, all those events, all the different things I was doing over and over and over. It was time for me to put it somewhere, you know? And it was social responsibility, going back to being an empowerment facilitator, being a social impact entrepreneur. It's a responsibility past me, right? And so I would say that every prompt, every thing that's in this book was like stuff that I needed to get better. So this is my playbook. This is my blueprint. This is something that I needed when I was younger. Even, and this is what I say too, you could be 7 or 70 years old. These prompts represent whatever you at in life. Wherever you at in life, that's how you're going to receive it. And I don't know, and you have a whole bunch of, you got a book collection like a mother. I'm seeing you doing your thing.
Yes, sure. Sir. Oh, yours is in there too.
Yours is in there too. It's not a game. Yeah. But what I would say is, you know how like you'll read a certain book at a certain one age or one part of your life, and then you read it again and it has different meanings. Yeah. That's kind of how I look at it with the reflections. What you put down, being able to reflect on some of the things you put down a month ago, 5 years ago, 20 years ago, it hit different. And I knew that like people need to be able to do that, because in a lot of ways, I'm looking at some of the questions that affects me when I'm just looking into the life book for myself to really, really dig out who the heck I am in the grassroots part. Because when I get to the grassroots, that's where the creativity comes from. That's where the greatness comes from. And then when I think about the world and everything that's happening around us, it's telling me everything opposite of what I just wrote in that book.
You know what's crazy is I remember when I was in high school, I went to a lot of high schools, but one of the high schools that I went to was a continuation high school, and they had us do this. This lady used to come in like once a week for like an hour, talk to us or whatever. And they had us do this thing where we wrote letters to ourselves in the future. And they actually mailed those letters to us in the future.
Yes.
And literally I started crying when I read that letter in the future. I think they sent it to us like 4 years later or 5 years later. And I was a junior at the time in high school when I wrote that letter. And then I think I was like a junior or senior or something like that in college when I wrote that, when I read it. And I think it felt so good because it took me to that humbling place. Like it reminded me of the space that I was in, what my thought process was, but it also was a testament to how far I've come.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah,
and so
that's it.
I love that you're doing that.
Sorry to put you on the spot. I know you interviewing me, but can you remember like one thing that you remember you put in that letter? You remember like one?
I remember a lot.
Okay, can you give us one? Because I think this would be good for people to hear.
One of the things I said was that I would be graduating college. Yeah.
I'll be 3 times.
Right. Facts.
Let's go.
Yeah, I said I'd be graduating college. And so that's why, again, I got it like my senior year. And I was like, whoa, like I'm here. So I think that's really dope, a dope concept that you're doing. And I think people may not appreciate it when they're writing down what that goal is, but you are going to appreciate it a few years later when you see that goal and you accomplish it. There was something that I did, and I'll tell you off camera. There was something that I did that I had planned, and I said, this is what I want to do. I wrote it out, and I wrote out a plan. And when I say it's almost identical, in fact, God is so good. it's better than what I wrote down. So I did this 2 years ago.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
2 years ago. So what you're doing, people are going to come up to you 3 years later and say, "Oh my God, I still look at that book that you had me do, and it's blown me away." You know what I'm saying? I do want to acknowledge the comment. We had my sis Toshka. She came through and she said, powerful way of thinking. She's on Facebook. So, we are on Facebook Live, on YouTube, on Twitter Live as well, too. So, but yeah, so I just love what you're doing.
I just got to add to it. And for me, like, I'm unorthodox. So I put my whole personality within this, right? So it's not just, questions. It's not just prompts. It's not just affirmations. It's actually QR codes, where if you scan the QR code, it's a video for me. When you can tell them the story, I'm building out the text. It's like, when you push for a goal, like you said, it gets 10 times better because you in it and new ideas come out. And like, it's a reason why they say part 2, because it's just getting started. Wow. Like, so the excitement that you're hearing, the excitement that I get from you when you cooking and you speaking your truth, and even in this podcast, like, I need people to feel that. I really hope that you feel the energy, because like, that's all I really want. I really want people to just operate in their greatness, because it makes the world better. It makes us better. I work with young people. I definitely want people to walk in purpose on purpose, because I know it's going to help a young person, even if they just watching.
That's a fact. Yeah, that's a fact. I love that. And this actually kind of transitions into my, my next question is, what got you started? I mean, obviously you and Ish started Project Optimism. What up, Ish? Shout out to you, bro. Throw the O's up. You know what I'm saying? Throw the O's up. What made y'all start? First off, what is Project Optimism? Yes. What made y'all start it? Go ahead and get the people.
Project Optimism is a community-based nonprofit. We started 7 years ago, getting close to 8 years. Man, time flies. Gotta stay consistent, y'all. I swear, sometimes I say stuff and I think about Larry June. Good job, Larry.
Good job.
I stay consistent, because when we first started, we wasn't an official 501c3 before we even got started. We was like,
doing the work.
We want to get to the work.
Doing the work. Yeah.
And me and Ishmael, we crossed paths working at a temporary foster care called the Children Receiving Home. And we wasn't super tight yet. He heard of me, I heard of him. He had a good rapport with the young people. I had a good rapport with the young people. So, instantly it's love, because the young people love you. If the young people love you, I love you, you know? But we didn't really connect in that way. But once again, remember I told you about, you've been to Positive Images Mixer.
Yeah.
And he hit him up multiple times. It's probably like year 2 in Positive Images, and he finally pulled up to one. And normally I'm in facilitator mode. I've been facilitating before I even had the language behind it, right? Yeah. And I asked the prompt. And normally if I'm in facilitator mode, I don't get an opportunity to actually participate in the prompt. But for some reason, I had a chance, and Israel knew he a cool dude. He was trying to not even so I'm like, you my partner then. And then whatever the prompt is led to us talking about our passions for young people in the community, bro. Almost to the point where how me and you are in the room, it's probably 30 people around us. It was like nobody forced it. Me and him was on the same page. We were finishing each other's sentences, and I had to shake out and be like, oh shoot, I'm still facilitating. We got to get back on the calendar, And so for me, that's one part of me, and the brother, my business partner turned brother. That's one part of it. But I got to go back. I got to go back to the very beginning. My lived experience, bro, is what qualifies us. Qualifies you. Qualifies me. Our lived experience is what qualifies us to do this work. End of the day, right? And I think that even from the inception of my life, my father being murdered a month before I was born. Thinking about the fast life they lived in that Bay Area, and how thinking about the fact that he was 22, 23 years old. And so even when I got to that age, people don't understand what I say. Getting older is a blessing.
Yeah.
So I've outlived my dad for quite a bit of time now. And so every single year means way more to me than probably others. I don't know them, but I will speak I really take this very serious.
Yeah.
But from the inception of my life, it already was incomplete. I wouldn't say broken, but incomplete. My mom's my superhero, but she had to overcome some things that didn't allow for me to even see, I guess, a fair shot at the beginning of my life, because she had to get some things together, which she did.
Yeah. She's
my hero for it. But full picture, it's that's just my story. You know how many kids we see on the daily, and profiles, and the fact that you see their profile where it's grandma, it's single parent, it's adoption, it's foster all the different things. And so that social responsibility that allowed for me to be great. And I think about working at two, and these are the gems too that I need people to hear. I work for 2 different nonprofits, a school district, before with I officially, work Project Optimism full time and did my other entrepreneur endeavors. Like it allowed for me to learn a whole bunch of systems, right? So between my lived experience and understanding systems and understanding the gaps and how we get add value and what I was great at and what the people around me was great at, it really allowed for Project Optimism to have wings that I was able to fly, right away, because once again, I was watching, I was learning, I was building relationships, I was leveraging those relationships. I was willing to do this for free. I was willing to lose sleep for it. I was willing to put money into it. All these things are very, very important if you're really serious about what you're trying to do. And so that's transferable. That's not just doing a nonprofit or a for-profit like Easley Done. That's whatever you want to do.
Yeah. I think that's a beautiful thing, because a lot of people feel, I don't want to say a lot of people feel, because I don't have done any research or study about it, but a lot of people show that, I get the feeling based on what I've seen, that a lot of people expect the money to come and then they'll do the work. And, me and KB talked about this as well last week. It's, if you build it, they will come, but you have to build it first. And if you don't build it, you'll never see that. But building it, it doesn't say if somebody pays you to build it. It doesn't say if somebody funds it. It just says build it. And that means by any means necessary. And the fact that you said, I did it for free first. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Not a lot of people are willing to actually put that work in. And you can put this across any spectrum. I mean, there are people who are like, oh, I wish I was I wish I was the next top rapper, right? But it's like, well, are you willing to perform in front of nobody? You know what I mean? Like, are you willing to put on a full show in front of 2 people and put on the same kind of energy as if it was 30,000 that's standing out there?
But here it goes. You already speaking to it, bro. When you doing purposeful work, it don't matter if one person show up. That's your chance. That's your opportunity. If anything, now, if it's only 4 or 5 people here, I get to make this instant. I get to really, really connect. I get the chance to look you in the eye. We brought crowds, hundreds of people. Yes. But we don't get that luxury. Yeah. And so when we get that luxury, it's a blessing, But I will say, because Tanisha on the Tasha, it's mindset. Yeah. It's the mindset of knowing, like, this is what I'm called to do. Right. And so I'm going to do this no matter what anyway, and the residuals came, but my mind was made up, and now I'm working backwards. Like, if I give you one of my biggest goals is I want to be able to one day forfeit my whole salary from Project Optimism and be like, let's make that a scholarship, because I diversify my portfolio as an entrepreneur to be able to do so. Wow. I'm very, very ambitious in that way. I know it might not happen today or tomorrow, but that's what type of time I'm on, I think that's beautiful. Yeah, but because I at the end of the day, this is pure. I don't we have to pay bills, right, and we're blessed in position to be able to pay our bills with what we've created, but ultimately I didn't do it for that. We didn't do it for that. You didn't do what you did for that. So it's a fun fight to change that narrative, or to switch the gear to be able to, like, oh, if I want to, Yeah. And so that's the type of time we're in.
I love that. And could you we talked about Project Optimism.
I did. You know what?
Yeah,
and you know what you're cooking.
Let me go into. I was about to say, could you go into more about what specifically Project Optimism is?
My apologies.
Yeah, again, we be talking. Like I said, we talk every day pretty much. So we be really going in when we actually get a chance to talk. Yeah, we going in.
This is overdue.
Yeah.
So like, this is a podcast. This is overdue.
Right.
But I would say, tangibly, we're a community-based nonprofit, and we specialize in youth development through mentorship. So we hire young professionals and college students on their journey to instantly be an effect, just based off the dribble, the introduction of who they are, what their major is, and what they're trying to do in life. How that's already transformational for our young people that we work with, which is all the way from elementary school all the way up to high school. But our sweet spot has been 4th grade to 8th grade. That's been our sweet spot. And so remember, I told y'all we went from begging schools to let us work with your kids, give us the opportunity 7 years ago, to now, like, we're big on quality control. So I'm gonna say only, I shouldn't say only, so let me put in important words to it.
Mm-hmm.
But at 13 schools, almost 14 schools now.
Wow.
It's to the point where like we did like this equity summit. Hear me out. We did this equity summit, and the interest was through the roof. It was like 65 schools in that district, and almost 44 schools had interest in wanting us to be at their school. You know, and so like the flip of it is what you said, the consistency, the work, because we knew that we had a good product. We had to show it, we had to fine tune it, we had to figure out what's good, what's bad, what's ugly, which we're still going to find out. We'll keep doing for the rest of our life. But now we're in a power position where the schools that we're at, they sought us out. You know, they worked hard to make sure that this is a true partnership. And that was important to us. Because before we had to just kind of take for what they was giving us. Yeah. Now we get a chance to really be like, hey, we want to be of value to what you're doing, and this is what it looks like for us to be able to do so. And so us working with hundreds of kids on a weekly basis is mind-blowing, bro. It really, really is. And I'll say this. One thing that I knew was important when I was working in the school district or working a 9 to 5 outside of what we're doing now, is I knew I was underutilized. And it's not their fault. I just knew that I needed to take the leap of faith because full circle, when we're at our max capacity, we're at like 33 staff. Like we really, really have to really understand that like we have so much more that we're connected to that we don't never want to put ourselves in positions or work somewhere where it's stifling us, you know? And like I said, it wasn't their fault. I just knew it was time for me to do what I need to do in full circle. That same district get a lot of love from Project Optimism. And in full circle, a lot of people's like, dang, I knew, but I didn't know. You know? So that type of stuff.
What I think is super dope about what y'all do is that you're touching a variety of different levels simultaneously.
Yeah.
I think the fact that you're able to employ college students, let's start there, right? Like we have so many college students can't afford, their education. They can't afford housing. They can't, the rent rates are through the roof at this point, right? They can't afford that. And so you're helping fill that gap by giving them an opportunity to make a living, right? That's one. The other thing is you're giving them work experience, which we know that when you're going into the workforce, when you're applying for these jobs, even if you have a degree, they're still going to say, how much experience do you have? We're looking for somebody with experience. So you're giving them work experience while they're in college. The other thing is you're giving them an opportunity to mentor young students. So now they actually get a chance to help the developmental process for these young kids. Simultaneously, you're giving the young kids an opportunity to connect with the older college students to get a perspective of what college is like and what college is if college is even possible. Because some people, when young people may not get exposure outside of, again, their teachers and their principals, they might not get exposure to college people while they're actually in studies. We know that the principal went to college. We know that the teacher went to college. You had to get the degree or whatever to be in those positions. But to see someone while they're going through that college experience,
I was just there.
That gives you a different perspective. Like, oh, this person's human too. You mean you play basketball like me?
Oh yeah.
Oh, you mean?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You like electronics like me?
We tell people all the time, like, first and foremost, we do not want you to be just a role model. More importantly, we want you to be a role model. Shout out to Tupac. I'm pretty sure you got him in Boston. You got him hard in here. But what I will say is, like, I love quotes. So y'all, you my staff, my team, been around me, I love quotes. And I say it all the time. If you want to impress someone, tell them your successes. If you want to connect with someone, tell them your failures. Tell them some real stuff. Because a young person hearing about your degrees, but then they hear other stories that I've heard you say, and I'll guarantee your listeners I've heard you say, where it's like, oh shoot, if he can do it, I can do it.
Right.
If Armoni's doing it this way, I can do it. And that's always what I want. I want them to know that it's just multiple ways to obtain success.
Yeah.
I like to live it and breathe it and speak it like as much as possible because our young people do need to see that. And that's why I say that introduction is key. But where I thought she was gonna click it, where I already know we've been on the same page, it's something that I think is important. I say to mentors all the time when they're working for Project Optimism or doing this type of work, or even when people volunteer. We just did our backpack drive last weekend where we 400 backpacks we was able to give out for Sacramento. We're gonna be doing another 600 in LA in 2 weeks from now. Walking in purpose on purpose for sure. But what I tell people, volunteers, mentors, people that want to come through the Project Optimism doors, I tell them all the time, like, you're going in here because you want to make a difference, right? And you'll figure out at random times as a mentor working the program that this is doing so much for you that you're pointing to this young person that it's doing for them probably, at least at the time, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's very, very important because that's one of my biggest messages with the book, with life work, like on the pen, all over the book, it's saying it really, really loud and clear. Like, you are the most important project you ever work on. And working with young people will help you see you.
Wow.
Because you got to tell them things that you got to live by and be reminded by. And I always say that, like, mentorship, and I'll be done after this time.
No, you good. You good.
I always say that mentorship has saved my life. And in a lot of ways, I think people hear it as, oh, you had mentors that poured into you. I wouldn't even say I had that many mentors that poured into me, really, to be honest. Yeah. The reason why I say mentorship has saved my life is because I've been a mentor since for a very long time, but professionally 20 years old to me being 34 years old. And what I said to these young people, even for my growth, my accountability, the different things I want to see them do. So I had to push them forward and different things like that helped me, propel me to be the man that I am right now, that I can stand on, And it's been a journey, an absolute journey. You're never going to be perfect. Like, just because I'm positive don't mean I'm perfect, but I try and I go. And so I can stand on who I am because I'm willing to do the work every single time, And so I think that that's one of the biggest messages that I want people to hear from life work, from me to you to whatever, is you're the most important project you ever work on. If you work on yourself, everything else grows around you.
I think it's beautiful that, you when you said, I'm not perfect. I think oftentimes, because again, we don't see these people on a day-to-day basis. We don't see the A-list celebrity. We don't see the multimillionaire, the billionaires on a day-to-day basis. And so all we see is what they've shown us, right? And same thing about just the average person, right? When you see them online, all you see is what they've shown you, highlights, right? And so we tend to think like, oh man, I'm not there, or I'm not there, or I'm not. And it's like, you are exactly where you're supposed to be, but you're working towards where you're supposed to be.
That part.
You know what I'm saying?
That part.
So I just think that's beautiful.
Yeah, and I think that, like, I'm telling you, I'm gonna keep doing this because it's in there. Like, I'm so.
Can I see the book?
Yeah,
I mean, mine's is over here on my shelf. I want to just make sure.
I'm so big on telling people to turn that societal clock off. Turn that societal clock off. Like, what people told you, what you've seen other people do, what your family did, what college told you, what a job told you, all the different things. Turn that off. You have to turn it off. You have to, because for one, if you end up doing it for everybody else, when you look back, even if you reach the goals that society told you to do, you might mess around and be miserable because you went after it for other people.
Man,
I want you to be informed on what you wanted to do, And I think that going back to Project Optimism and hiring young people, what I think is important for college students is, before you make that decision of maybe going that route in that major, is go touch it first. If you want to do youth development or work at schools, like, come work for a Project Optimism or something like that, and go see it first, right? Because you might go get that degree and later on be like, F these kids.
Yeah. For real.
So
put your mic up.
Oh yeah, and also also what I'm clear on too is, it's just like, I love this. I've seen this before and I thought it was really dope. They were saying, like, it's multiple ways to get to the NBA.
Yeah.
As in, there's other different things that you can do. As in, like, you can still make an impact, and you don't have to work directly with young people, but you have a passion for the community. You have a passion for young people. So you might work in the corporate side. You might fundraise for them. You might do different things that's equally as important, but you're just doing your part. And so my biggest thing is going to see about it. I'm gonna learn by doer, and that has allowed for me to be really successful. Like, I got to touch it first.
Yeah,
it makes it tangible for me. I don't believe in homework. I believe in life work. That's my last word.
I love it. No, I love. Now, keep referencing. I love it. I do want to. So Could you tell the people, because like I said, I've said this a couple times, that you started a nonprofit. I do want to acknowledge the comment. I got KB is in the building. He said both nephews is in the building. You know, it's love. It's love. Appreciate you. Brace up.
Yeah.
Brace up. But we talked about the nonprofit. Mm-hmm. What is the difference between your nonprofit and for-profit, or just the difference in general? You can talk about yours, but what's the difference between the nonprofit?
Let me tell you my truth. Some people don't know. Like that you asked this, and I think that a lot of people see me for Project Optimism and don't know stuff happening, right? But it's important for me to tell this part. So when I took that leap of faith, they're like, "Where are you going?" Strategy, right? Project Optimism.
What was a leap of faith that you took?
I'm sorry. Before the pandemic, thank you. Before the pandemic, a year before the pandemic, I took a leap of faith to work Project Optimism.
And you were working for the school district full time.
Full time, right?
So you quit your job.
I quit my job. I sold my nice apartment. I sold my nice little car. I was riding.
Yeah, I remember that. Right. That was a noise maker, boy.
Man, but it's cool though. It's gonna come back around. It's gonna come back.
That's a fact.
Maybe it did come back around. You never know. Anyway, but point being is, what I will say is, I got uncomfortable. I got uncomfortable because I knew my purpose was bigger than what I was like doing currently, right? Yeah. And so at 30 years old, I knew it was time, And so I was able to be blessed. My godmom, play auntie, she let me move in a little small room in her spot, and it was time, And what I love about it, and I always say, like, it makes a better story. I didn't know a pandemic was about to hit, but it made a better story that I took that leap of faith and I doubled down, because the residuals, what I just was talking about earlier, is a beautiful thing. And so what I will say is, Project Optimism, I'm going back to my point.
For sure.
So I took a leap of faith. They're like, "Hey, where are you going?" School district, where are you going? I'm like, "Project Optimism, let's partner." So I got the first contract with the school districts to work with, right?
Network.
Leverage your resources and your network. But also they're like, "Hey, the dope things that you were doing here, listening sessions, working with the identity clubs, like the BSUs, all the different things. How can we work with you?" With you, because I tell people all the time, you are a walking business. How can I work with you? And so for a long time, I was just operating with a DBA, which I was just Easley Done Co. It wasn't an LLC yet. And I was an independent contractor with the school district with the things on the side, which was really, really helpful, because once again, it wasn't making real money for Project Optimism. So I was able to take care of myself with doing my consulting work, my speaking work, and all the other stuff on the side. And so that's how I originally opened up. I realized that, oh shoot, I am a business, And so
I'm not a business man. I'm a business man.
so the blessings that came with that just kept on opening doors. And so from investing with you, the book, the speaking, the consulting, it's just the umbrella to all the different things that I was already doing. But I just legitimized it under the LLC. And so and then my bad, the most important part, one of the most important parts, Easley Done and Company. Because once again, one of my blessings from God early was social capital. I know a lot of people. I know a lot of great people. So I might have an opportunity. I got a speaker series. Josiah, what's up? Kevin Bracey, what's up? Maya, what's up? Like, I got a speaker series for y'all to be able to come, and I got a bag for us. What's going on? Like, I want you to come and speak to these adults. I want you to speak to these young people. I can be able to leverage those relationships to be able to put us in position, right? And so, again, those also are intentional moves, because when you have that, the price, when people just kind of come to you, let's keep it real, right? The price go, let's see the website, the domain, the emails, the one pagers, the different things, the book, like, it's the enhancers of saying, like, nah, you got to take me serious.
Yeah.
And I got things to stand on, and if anything, once I get in this door, I'm kicking it open, not just for me, but for other people.
Absolutely.
So,
absolutely.
It's all of those things.
Okay. And then, so the difference between the profit and nonprofit is the nonprofit is essentially, it's serving the community.
I would say, even though both are passionate things, Project Optimism is like almost like it's hard work, as in like,
right.
And I'm saying
HEART.
Yes, hard work, as in like, I want that to live and breathe without me. If I'm truly about true legacy work, I'm a true leader. I don't want to be that dude that played the NBA or playing the NFL and he probably should retire a long time ago. I'm passing it for time.
Yeah.
I'm figuring out ways to add value from the I'm trying to be a star in my world. And so for me, I think it's important for us all to think like that. It's like, don't get lost in just one identity, because it shouldn't be like that if you're serious about youth development or community service. You want to do, who was it? I don't know who said it, but I loved it. It said that some decisions, or the right decisions, sometimes don't involve you. And so, like, I'm clear on trying to figure out, is this what I need to do, Lord, or is do I need to put somebody else in this position? Like, it's just different things I'm always thinking about, because it's bigger than me. And so, I just want to add that, like, I look at Project Optimism, even though it's very lucrative, we're doing good. The doors are open, the lights are on, we're doing well. I still have that mindset of, like, I want to make sure PO is good, Project Optimism is good, and I can really blow it up on the EDC side, the Easley Done Company side, because you know what it is.
Yeah, it's opportunity for that
too. For profit for a reason. And don't get it twisted, both are businesses and they have to make money to be sustainable.
Absolutely.
But I can run it up.
Absolutely. If you could, I want to get to some of the maybe mistakes, right? So, because in life, we're human and we make mistakes. And so part of this is to give people an opportunity to possibly not make the same mistakes, that we make. So tell me, what's the worst mistake you've ever made while being in this profession of having your own company, of Project Optimism, or just in life?
Shoot, bro, like, same thing. And I'm not trying to be that dude that do the interview and they say, like, oh, weakness is actually kind of a strength. I'm gonna tell you my truth.
Yeah.
I'm a people pleaser. I'm accommodating. I care about people. I care about their stories. And so, me being that, sometimes I'm not as stern on things. I'm not as, like, black and white on things that when times I probably should be, right? And I'm trusting, maybe too trusting sometimes, where I've let people in that I probably shouldn't have, when it came down to, like, letting it fully into the business, for sure. Because if I'm honest with you, I had a situation where somebody was upset because they wasn't a co-founder. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't what me and Ishmael was. They wanted to be. Let's see where they wanted to be. They were great X, Y, and Z, but they were just trying to take over. And it's like, damn, like, you don't get it. This is a team effort. I can't. Ishmael might be in LA right now, but I'm not kicking him out. We started this together, so it's either us together or not. And it wasn't well received, and they just did some things that I'm like, oh my goodness. They put me in a very bad spot where I was embarrassed to tell my bro, like, dang, like, they just moved this out, just some crazy. I can't go into detail, but early stages, very, very early stages. That was a sad moment where I just felt like, dang, I'm people pleasing, but also I'm too trustworthy in a way where that could have really messed up things, And so I think it's important for y'all all, when y'all starting businesses, to have contracts, to have conditions and understandings. Non-disclosure agreements, all those different things, because I think at the end of the day, like, people are still people. Once again, like, people have their own things going on, but that's the first time I actually, like, said that on wax, and I got love for that person, and it's all good.
For sure.
But I would say that was really hurtful, because I look at people as family. As much as people are employees, and I'm, getting better and better as I grow, to understand that people are employees in X, Y, and Z, but I really want to grow with this person and kind of take this to the level, and it wasn't able to happen,
I that's actually something that that I struggle with as well too. It's like, again, when you grow up, we obviously growing up in the rich, right? Like, we have this thing, this culture. It's like, yo, we together, we rocking, rocking with who we rocking with, you know what I'm saying? And for me, I have that as well too, where it's like, I treat everybody like, no, you fam. Like, I might say, what's up, bro? What's up, sis? Like, cause we family. But when you talk about business, like, you have to be able to separate the two, and not to say, like, separated, like, the people that you work with can't be family, but you have to make sure that the people that you work with who are family now, that they understand that we still family, but we have a business. You know what I mean? We have a purpose, a goal that we need to accomplish.
And just to add on to that, exactly, the decisions I'm making, decisions that it affects people, it affects young people. So therefore, it's not about you in front of me. It's about the services we're providing to young people that need us. And so it's not I need to think about it in that way. You know, not the person in front of me, but just the black and white. Hey, if you don't do this, a kid don't get served, family don't get served. You know, like those are the type of moments that I think is important for us to call out. Like those things right there. It's like it's bigger than us. And so if people are not willing to be accountable to that, and then decisions have to be made. You know, and so I'm glad you said it in that way. But yeah, it's bigger than us.
Okay, so let me ask you, like, with you being a loving person, a family person, right? How challenging is this profession, right? Where you work with a lot of different people.
Well, what's so funny is,
or what are some challenges?
I'm gonna blend your last question with this one too.
Yeah.
Another thing too is we got into this work because we wanted to do the work, right? But as you keep on growing and elevating, I'm doing things that people went to school for. HR stuff, payroll stuff. Like this is a real business job, not a drill, you know? And so like for me, like for one, it's a lesson that the learning curve is the learning curve and we're growing every single time. But at the same time, I didn't go into the business for this part, right? Yeah. But and I always tell people my assignments is this. Maybe I don't get to do direct services like I used to anymore, which obviously I love, or when I do, it's the other hat. But I get to mentor the mentor, which is equally as important, right? Like that's the blessing when I get a chance to help cultivate what that looks like. But the other part of it is, like you said it earlier, like I'm helping people pay their mortgage. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm helping people pay their bills and get through school and to support their family and all those different things. So therefore, even though I'm doing the quote unquote boring stuff, the back end stuff, it's all worth it because the end goal,
absolutely,
the outcome of the input. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Like, yeah.
So I love that because it makes sense why you started Project Optimism, because essentially, you're taking the optimistic route and saying, like, no matter what, we have to keep going because there are people depending on me. Yeah. There are people whose goals are tied to my goals. And so I've got to be able to help them become successful. Listen.
And I'll say this, because I really need them to hear. I need your listeners to hear this. We say it all the time, but I'm going to say it probably every podcast I ever get on, every chance I get. We always talk about the optimistic mindset. Like our objective with Project Optimism is not an easy one because it is a seed planter. You might not see it ever. It might not hit them to 30 years from now when you plant that seed. But like one of the biggest ones, we always talk about the optimistic mindset. And the reason why the optimistic mindset is so important when we're working with Promise communities and Promise youth is because we can tell them something to inspire them, and then they literally leave the campus and they're like, "You lied to me, Armoni. You lied to me, Josiah. I can't be that. How can I be that when this is what I'm seeing in my neighborhood? This is what I'm seeing. I ain't seen nobody do what you're telling me I can do, right?" And so we're trying to interrupt the mind. And so we say it all the time. The optimistic mindset is looking at any situation in your life as a lesson, a blessing, and an opportunity to grow. Once again,
please say it again. Say that for the camera right there. Say that for the
optimistic mindset. The way we coin it, we say, look at any situation you ever go through as a blessing, and an opportunity to grow. We tell young people all the time that's their superhero power. You can't lose when you're thinking like that. And so we could talk about, like, I know your question was about our mistakes and stuff like that, but like I learn from every single mistake because I have that mindset. Yeah. And so this ain't a drill. Project Optimism, life work. This is not a drill. This is what I practice. This is stuff that like I didn't just Google, I didn't just YouTube. No, this is what I am literally living, so I can get better and better and better. We always say, get better at getting better.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So yeah, like.
Get better at getting better. Yeah. Ooh, I love that. I love that. So I'm gonna kind of wrap things up because I know we both got to get running a little bit.
I'm about to head to another little thing.
My man's on the roll, so I appreciate you taking the time to stop by. The last thing I'm going to ask you is if there was one wise word that you could give your younger self about anything in life that you think is important, what would that word be? Or just to give it anybody, what's the wise word? I want to be
intentional. So I was just at a men's accountability meeting last night, like the first one they did, and I'm glad I was able to make it. Somebody said something that really resonated with me, and not to be all biblical because I'm not fake. You're good. This is what helped me be on track. Be in purpose. It gives me direction. But I thought this was really powerful. To your listeners, to your supporters. I think my guy Tyler said it too. He said the devil doesn't work in the obvious. He works in the subtleties.
Mm.
And the reason why that hit me so hard is because what you're doing, what we're doing, forever we're gonna be challenged. It's always gonna be something that's trying to throw us off track, right? And so we have to be aware. We have to have a discernment. We have to be mindful so much, and not the obvious of what you think what might happen to try to throw you off, but it's the subtleties. And so if I could tell my young self that maybe in like a more simplified way so I could understand it, that's what I would say is to just be mindful at all times of somebody trying to trick you off your spot, trick you off your position, out your square, because you about to do great things around you. You already are great right now. My younger self would need to hear that, because look at this now.
Absolutely, man. I love that. I love that because it speaks to, what life is going to be like for people. And I think it prepares them, it puts on that armor, that's necessary, because a lot of times when the media shows like the devil or anything like that, or the enemy, it's always like this big guy with horns or whatever, right. Or just some person that you see is like, up there's the threat. And it's like, it's not like that. It's like, hey, I know you like candy.
Yep.
Here you go.
Yep.
Oh, you like candy again? Yep. Here you go.
Yep.
Here you go. Oh, I heard you love this. Here you go.
You work so hard. You can have one.
You can have it. You deserve it.
Subtlety, y'all.
You deserve it. And I think that's big, because if people can understand that, then they'll be a lot more discerned. Utilize discernment. I don't know if they'd be a lot more discerned, but they would utilize discernment. Yeah. You know what I mean?
I still understood.
You understood it, but I was just trying to be grammatically correct. But
I'm gonna leave that up to you, because this is what I love about talking with passion and walking in purpose. When I fumble on stage or right now, you felt my passion.
Absolutely.
And so when you walking in purpose, when you're talking with passion, you don't go too far from the truth.
Facts.
So that's the reason why I said I already understood what you said.
I appreciate that. So I think that's key, man. I love that. I'm definitely gonna quote that, put that on the gram. You know what I'm saying? Any last words that you want to leave the people? Definitely, obviously, y'all gotta cop the book Life Work. So I did purchase mine a couple months ago. I still have to read it because I'm working my way through. But I still gotta. So I'm gonna read that definitely. So purchase Life Work. It's available online.
Yep, it's on Amazon, it's on Google. It's on our website. It's easydone.co.com. You can grab it at any time. We would love that. But once again, I like that. Not feedback, but feed forward. Like I've been getting a lot, like you were saying, like planting seeds now. Maybe somebody might really hit them, but it might hit them later. But I ask for y'all to really, really tap in with yourself. That's what this book is allowing for people to do. But my last words would be I would just say, because for real, I was really thinking like the first thought was thank you for having me, right? Thank you for what you do. Thank you for your consistency. I think that Wise Word Wednesdays, like you are saying things that it's not just changing lives, but it's saving lives, right? And when you're doing purposeful work, you've already done enough already. You've left a legacy already, and just getting started. And so I'm just blessed to be on this journey with you. I just want flowers. I think that's really what it is. I don't think I need to say anything else. We already said it.
I love that, man, and it's crazy. I do have to just say before we get out of here that one time, you sent me a video of your kids from Project Optimism doing the Wise Word. It was like 10 of them, and they just went back to back to back, and like it almost brought me to tears, man, because you don't think that you don't know whether or not you're doing what you're supposed to do until the end, right? Like it's kind of, I don't want to again put biblical all in your face and everything, but like think about like Noah's Ark, right? Like Noah was building that ark because God told him that that's what he was supposed to do, but he didn't really know for a fact that a flood was coming. He was just building the ark. You know what I'm saying? And so for me, I think that was the time where it was like the flood is coming, because that just gave me that motivation. So it was just a blessing.
If there's any way, I don't know how you cut the massive stuff, but if there's any way that you can link that video again, if we still have that, probably find it for you and we send it, because I think your listeners will love it.
Absolutely, yeah.
When we made it, we had a ball.
excited, man. So, man, Armoni Easley, I appreciate you coming on the Wise Word Wednesday podcast. Listen, if y'all could do me a favor and like, comment, and subscribe, you can follow Armoni's Instagram. I have it there at the bottom here for you, but I just really appreciate it. It's easleydone.co. That's EASLEYDONE _CO, not .co, sorry, _CO. And I just appreciate you, man. This is a blessing. You dropped so many gems, and especially because I know you got a place to be in like 15 minutes. So I appreciate you taking that time.
Let me just say,
yes,
O's up.
O's up.
O's up. Life work, Waymakers, and you know what it is. That be fire your boss. Is it 2 claps to Ric Flair?
2 claps at a Ric Flair. Woo! I love y'all, man. We fresh.